This was something that was asked. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible to extend the scope. So really, it's over to you as members of the scrutiny committee to give us an indication. What you would, you can see what they are and what they can cover, and it's what you feel. Where do you feel there's a perhaps an opportunity or something that needs dealing with, which isn't currently being dealt with, and what you would like looked at as set out in the report. Though it does set out, if you felt the service or the orders needed to be extended, it does set out what would need to be done in terms of identifying priorities and resources to take that forward.
Thank you for that. Vice Chair, you want to come in here?
Thanks, Chair. I'm getting calls from residents about the car parks down the beaches quite consistently for the last couple of years, and I fully support the PSPO idea. I know we've had a lot of feedback from other groups saying about unless you can enforce it, but I don't think that should be the issue so much. I think we should get these PSPOs in place, making an offence to rev cars, antisocial behaviour, especially where they're less than 100 metres from housing the car parks. But my question is mainly, if the council was to introduce a PCSO to a council-owned car park, would it perhaps be wiser to do all the council car parks with the same PSPO at the same time and more cost efficient?
Well, I think as it out, you can, as Bridgend did with its with the dog control order that it did. You can put orders in place across the county borough for public spaces, and that's not just council land, but that would have to be considered in detail. And as set out, there is a big consultation that has to be legally gone through, and the outcome considered. Obviously, I'd need to consult with my colleague, the head, Dave Griffiths, head of engineering and transport, who has responsibility for all the car parks. And there would have to be, you'd have to look at the county borough, because you have got to justify what issues you are looking to address, and that they are there, and that what you're proposing to bring in terms of a restriction is reasonable and proportionate to what's happening. So he'd have to have a lot of input into what issues there are across the county borough, and I'm not sure how. I haven't seen any orders relating to things like the revving of engines and that type of thing. So we'd have to research that about what is possible and not possible.
Councillor Keogh, you wanted to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. What it is, the PSPOs are very welcome. I think it's a step in the right direction because, as I say, trying to create bylaws is a very expensive way of doing things and a very convoluted way of doing things. But they're more than welcome in town centres where we have nuisance begging and drinking and gathering of large crowds. But what I'm asking is that, will we be putting these PSPOs up on our website and explaining why they're there with the Home Office advice as well? So at least a gist of what we can do and what we can't do. Thank you.
Okay, well, the ones that we have in existence in Aberavon Seafront, they have just been renewed. A full consultation process with the public and been considered by members and through the cabinet process and have been extended for a further 3 years. So that's all been in the public domain, and I believe the details are on the council's website. In terms of other restrictions in the town centre, I am not proposing to introduce any, the report is responding to members' requests about what is the potential for extending them, and I've set that out in the appendices of the report. So I wouldn't be bringing anything forward in the town centres unless you as members, wanted officers to look at that and it was agreed that that was a priority and we should go away and have a look at it and go through the statutory process to consider those orders.
No, I didn't mean that, Mr. Roberts. What I meant was is that we've already got those in hand, working with the local police and our own officers. So I'm aware of what's going on. I'm going to say Neath are doing the same thing, but we councillors at the end of the day are in the front line, so we know what go on, and we're the ones that normally request them. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a welcome tool or a welcome weapon in our armoury. But I think the public needs to know that we do have these things, and that they can actually make their own requests online, you know, that they think there's a problem, and then we have to look at it. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Okay, well, hopefully this report will go some way to raising awareness, Councillor.
Councillor Goldsworthy, did you? Councillor Griffiths. Councillor Griffiths, you want to come in?
Chloe wants to come in, Chair.
Yeah, I'm bringing Chloe in. Sorry. Councillor Goldsworthy, will you please come in?
Hello?
You're there at
Yeah.
last.
Sorry, I've just had to take a call a minute, an urgent one, so...
I go on to the next one then. Next question. Councillor Griffiths.
Chair, I don't think Councillor Griffiths had a question on this item.
No, Chair. Is my hand up?
No, it's not.
Okay.
While we wait for Councillor Goldsworthy, because I think she had a question, I don't know if Councillor Wood wanted to come back on his question and whether he wanted to progress with the particular comment that he made, and whether committee members wanted to agree if we go away and discuss with Dave and you know, put something in place to, if Councillor Wood wanted the kind of blanket PSPOs to progress. I'm not sure if Councillor Wood wanted to come back on that.
Thanks, Chloe. I mean, I think it would be a good idea, and the fact of the matter, I know what Mr. Roberts is saying about proportionality, but the sort of antisocial behaviours that we've seen during the COVID-19 lockdown has included our rural car parks as well as our town centre and beach car parks. The issues of I mean, nobody wants to see antisocial behaviour, and Chiltern Council is the site I've been researching on what they've applied, and they have applied a list of revving, of drinking and things like that, which, you know, shouldn't be happening anyway, but we're all aware of the police response, current response to these issues. But if we do pass a PSPO, knowing the success of the one we've had on Aberavon Beach with dog walkers, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Councillor Griffiths, you got your hand up?
No, I have, Chair. No, Chair, I haven't.
Councillor Latham.
Sorry.
Sorry, because your hand is coming up all the time, Councillor Griffiths. I call in the cabinet member, Councillor Latham.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just want some clarity. I don't know whether Mike can give it to me on what Rob has suggested there. The PSPO we've got down on Aberavon Seafront is policed by our officers mainly, i.e. dog wardens. And I just want to know what would be the police reaction if we were to impose these orders across the county borough in every car park. Are we leaving our officers open to abuse if they are the only ones that can deal with this kind of antisocial behaviour? Because if there's a case of antisocial behaviour, whether it be drinking or drug taking or whatever, surely that's a police matter anyway. Whether there's a PSPO in place on the venue or not, And I just think we need to be a little bit careful as to are we going to be putting our own officers into some sort of unnecessarily danger. And I don't know what the answer is, and that's why I just throw it in there. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Do you want to come in, Mr. Roberts?
I think, Chair, and perhaps this committee would like to ask the corporate antisocial behaviour team if they'd like to raise it through the Community Safety Partnership and use that as a sounding board as to problems across the county borough in the car parks. And obviously the police do attend that partnership, and we can get soundings from them about what they feel about them and whether they're necessary or justified.
Thank you for that. Councillor Goldsworthy, you're back with us. You want
Yeah,
to...
sorry about that. I had to take that call. Yeah, I totally agree with Ted, to be honest with you. I think that's an area of concern about our staff, to be honest, because obviously when you're dealing with people and it is a police matter, and I don't think we should be going into that sort of area, to be honest with you, because when I've had issues at the Gorad and a PCSO turned up on his own, he was so intimidated with a crowd of 60, 70 people, he turned back round and went. You know, even he wouldn't do it. So I think that I agree with Ted there. My question is on it is when it says about the restrictions do not apply to disabled persons on page 12. I see a lot of vulnerable elderly people. Obviously, the dog is a full companion, but they're not registered maybe as disabled. It's the case of old age, aches and pains, and they can't actually bend down to get it. So would that actually come under the Equality Act of 2010 because it only says about the person suffers from a disability?
Councillor Roberts, are you going to answer?
Okay, Chair, that word in there is actually taken from information provided by Bridgend Council, so it is the wording that applies to their restriction as I understand it. So it is an example of what they're doing in Bridgend. So I can't comment on how that operates there because I haven't got that experience. But I say the wording that I've put in there, it has been taken from information that I've had from Bridgend Council.
So, Chair, if I can come back. So could that include elderly as well, or, you know, maybe when we obviously look at it, it is actually taken into account?
Well, if we look at one, we would take on board all your comments and have to look at those issues and how the Disability and Equalities Act applies across a range of protected characteristics.
Okay. Chair, if I can as well, I forgot a question earlier. It was just basically about when you said about the interview rooms and PACE. Could you just explain to us members what PACE actually is, please?
Okay, yeah, sorry, there's the police and criminal evidence interviews. So it's for criminal evidence gathering where people are suspected of committing environmental crimes. So obviously we have to go through a formal interview process similar to the police where information is gathered and recorded properly. And there are facilities set up for that, but we didn't have facilities where we could with the COVID situation, where we could conduct interviews in a safe manner. So that's now been addressed. There's rooms in Neath that can be booked for officers to go and conduct socially distanced and interviews, including, which are all risk assessed with all the necessary mitigation measures in place. So those interviews can now proceed, whereas, as I say, for a while we didn't have those facilities available.
Thank you, Mike.
Is there any other question you want to ask Councillor Goldsworthy?
No, that's it. Thanks, Shirley. What am I calling you, Shirley? Sorry, Mr.
Chloe wants to come in, Chair.
Oh, I'm losing
Chloe
it.
wants to come in.
Right, I can't see any other hands up.
Chair, Chloe wants to come in.
Before we move on to the Appendix C, the cemeteries, just for clarity of the meeting, I don't know, Councillor Wood, if you want to make any comments on the PSPO situation as you brought it out. I don't know if members want to decide what they want to do in regards to that, just for clarity, that's all.
I think that it's supported in general by the members, but I can see the point that possibly individual members would want to bring it up within their wards rather than it going across the whole sort of county borough. So perhaps the committee can just bear in mind that we will probably be getting orders coming to the committee, and to look on them, I would suggest, in a favourable light.
Councillor Griffiths, your hand is up again. Do you want to come in?
No, it's Councillor Goldsworthy, Chair.
It's not me. It's not me. Honestly.
Me.
Allow it to come into the right, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Can I just make a suggestion, maybe? Because obviously we've all got our ward surgeries coming up, streetcare surgeries coming up, haven't we? And maybe if a question is asked, you know, have we got areas in our ward, you know, and basically just where it can be just collated and passed on as potential sort of areas or something. Just obviously, I'm just thinking, you know, ahead really. About the PC, what you call them now? That's a new one I gotta get used to. What are they? PC what are they?
Sorry?
It's a PSPO, Sal.
Thanks, Ted. I'm just trying to look for it now. Yeah, you know, it might be helpful to you, Mike, or not. It's entirely up to you. It's just a suggestion. Because I would put the GORAD on it.
Okay, well, I think you had some other information for me anyway earlier. You said it earlier in the meeting, so perhaps we could have a discussion, something after the meeting.
No
Happy on that, Councillor Goldsworthy? Did you meet up with Mr. Roberts?
Yeah. Oh, we'll have a Zoom. We'll have a Zoom together, Mike.
There we are. Is there any other questions on any of the appendix now? I can't see any, so nothing on the cemeteries. I know that it's all for information. No.
Chair, there's Councillor Goldsworthy wants to come back in.
Councillor Goldsworthy?
Yeah, it's on the chart, it is, on the cemeteries. And I know it's back last year, but in July of last year, out of obviously looking at the averages of the differences in each month in both years, there is quite a jump on July of 20, minus 20. So, you know, it's funny because I looked at it first and thought it was this year, but obviously it's last year. So, you know, was there anything that jumped out at July last year for that? Do you know?
No, I don't know, Councillor, but historically, you know, level of burials does go up and down anyway.
Yeah.
I think if you just ignore the colours is best on that chart, but you know, you can see in some months, as you say, it's a lot less this year than last year. So
yeah. And if I can just just mention another issue that obviously came to light during COVID was ownership of graves. And that was an area of concern, I thought, and a lot of people aren't aware about leaving the ownership of a grave, a deed, basically, and their wills to fellow members and things like that, and some of the issues that arise as a result of that. So I think that is something I would like to look at going forward as well.
Chair, can I
Chair,
just make a quick comment on what Charlotte have just asked about numbers? I think it's worth noting that, and I haven't got them in front of me, but I think the numbers down the Margam Creme actually increased for the period. So it's family choice, isn't it? It's our burial sort of not so favourable now, and more people are being cremated. But I have to say, for all that these that Mr. Lewis and Mr. Roberts have got, Chair, thankfully deaths isn't one of them.
Yeah.
And funny thing, I can't understand how cemeteries and crematorium are actually separate. Shouldn't they be together?
No.
Be separate. Have anybody else got any questions now on these appendix B and C? No? So shall we move on then? I bring Chloe in now on the Forward Work Programme 2020-21, pages 15 to 16. Chloe, I hand over to you.
Thanks, Chair. So I've put the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme on the agenda following the workshop that we had. So the items that are on there currently are what members discussed in that meeting. As you're aware, we haven't stood the Cabinet boards back up for the scrutiny committees. So these are more information items. I don't know if members have any comments to make on the Forward Work Programme, or if there's anything following this discussion this morning that they'd like to add on there.
Chair, Councillor Galsworthy.
Yes, Councillor Galsworthy, you want to come in?
Yeah, it's just reading that now, just jog my memory. Obviously, when another thing that obviously I've noticed as well is in regards to how enforcement and waste don't link up sometimes enough in the community. So it's sort of maybe members aren't aware about the different enforcement services that we do have on private property, on pest control and things like that, to utilise them effectively in their own wards. It's like empty houses and a lot of that, and I see that we could be much more effective if we joined them up and use the services that we do have a lot more ourselves as councillors if we knew it. So I don't know what lots of members do know about them services and don't.
Got that, Chloe?
Can I come in? Oh,
yeah, go on, Mike.
If I could just add, Chair, the director has already got myself and the head of planning and public protection to looking at the interface between pest control and environmental health, and we're having discussions about that and whether those two elements should be brought together. So those discussions are ongoing, that the director has asked us to have a look at, and we're looking at what we should be doing there as we speak.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, Mike.
Happy on that, Councillor Galsworthy?
Yes, I'm sure we'll have a discussion on it as well when we have a meeting.
Right. Is there anything else you wish to say on item 4, Chloe, on the Forward Work Programme?
Not on the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme, no, Chair, but we've also attached the Cabinet Forward Work Programme for members' information as well. These are just basically the items that are going to Cabinet and what Cabinet Scrutiny could potentially look at. I was just wondering if there was anything on there that members of the Streetscene Engineering Scrutiny Committee would like to look at in a future meeting, if there was anything that fell within their remit. You can see the different items on there in front of you, so I was just wondering if there was anything so that we can programme it in.
Is there anything any members or officers wish to programme in? Councillor Gosworthy, you've got your hand up. Is that an old one or a new one?
Legacy.
I can't see anything.
Councillor Griffiths wants to come in, Chair.
Councillor Griffiths?
With the cabinet forward work, I don't seem to have it. Am I missing something?
It was put as an urgent item, so it'll be a supplement to the agenda on ModGov.
Right.
Can you see it?
No, I can't. So not on my. I've got it all up here. I've got the agenda, but I haven't got anything else. Should I go out and come back in?
I could forward it to you if you'd like. I got it up here.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Try refreshing at the top of the screen in the meetings page. That sometimes works.
Hang on.
Top right hand corner.
Yeah, I got it.
Have you got it, Councillor Griffiths?
I think so.
We got it.
No.
I've just forwarded it to you on email as well.
Right. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. I'll sort it out.
If there is anything, though, you can get back to us outside of the meeting. But just to bear in mind that it is a live working document, so there are things being changed around on a regular basis. So it's good to keep an eye on that anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I'll. Thanks very much. Thank you. Sorry to be a nuisance.
No, it's quite all right. That's what we're here for. Chloe, that ends our meeting for today.
Yep, unless members have anything else to say or add, then that's everything on the agenda today.
Well, that leaves me to thank you and to thank you for being very patient.
Councillor Goldsworthy's got her hand up, Chair, sorry.
Councillor Penry.
Yes.
I'd just like to again thank the teams, because obviously the amount of pressure they're under in the current time.
Councillor Goldsworthy, you let the chair.
Yeah, that's what I'm just making out now. Reminder.
Councillor Roberts, will you please go back to your staff? Every part of the departments, the way they are working so hard and the excellent work, especially the refuge. I think we owe them a great attitude, great thanks to them. So could you please go back and thank them on behalf of this committee?
Yeah, thank you for that recognition, Councillor Penry and members, and I'll certainly take that back and convey that. Indeed, Andrew's on the line as well, the service manager. I'm sure he'll be pleased to relay that to his team and the crews.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you ever so much for coming on, teams, onto this meeting.